And a good midday Monday to you. Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards Forecaster. You're looking at the formation of Tropical Storm Dorian. This is a little bit east of the Caribbean Basin across the central Atlantic, heading toward the Caribbean. It's going to be taking a track toward Dominique, somewhere along about this position here. And Dorian is a tropical storm that's gradually spinning up with higher intensities, and remains to be seen if it'll make it up to a Category 1. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. This is Dorian, and this is the track. It looks like the latest National Hurricane Center advisory now, or projected track, does bring it up to a Cat 1, and it's going to be in and out. This is the island of Hispaniola, has some pretty good mountains on it. It looks like this track is probably going to interfere with the circulation and weaken it as it comes out in the Bahamas. It does not look like it's going to increase its intensity, as this is also an area with a lot of wind shear, and the wind shear is detrimental to the symmetrical shape of a hurricane or a tropical cyclone, and that takes a lot out of it. Now to the north we have what is the makings of what will probably be Tropical Storm Erin. This is well off the Cape Hatteras coast, greater than 300 miles off the coast. It does look like it could interfere with potentially some Newfoundland, Eastern Canadian Maritimes, something we'll be watching. This would be along about Friday of this week if it does. The rest of the country, as you can see now, we're looking at generally a big ridge of higher pressure that is over this particular area using these sort of tan-colored lines. That's 500 millibars or 500 hectopascal thickness lines. And then what you can also see is the surface area of higher pressure in the blue lines here. This is a trough of lower pressure, and most of our weather right now is along this particular trough of lower pressure. A lot of cloud cover and a considerable amount of precipitation forming there. And that weather system in the center of the country is going to make a slow run at us. So you're looking at the European model 6-hourly increments here. And what I want to show you is each model run of every 6 hours. Nice area of higher pressure bringing just pretty awesome weather. It looks like right through Tuesday night. Here comes our precipitation of a nice little narrow frontal boundary. Typically these don't do a whole lot, but we're indicating potentially a little bit over a ½ inch in some spots. This is valid through about 8 o'clock on Wednesday evening, and continuing that, looks like a little bit after that toward midnight, and then things calm down, and just a little bit of isolated shower activity until the next weather system approaches us, another frontal boundary. This kind of brings a little bit of a reinforcing shot of cooler but also drier air, but it will touch off some showers, the isolated possibility of a thunderstorm here and there, and then that moves on out nicely. And it sets up what looks like a pretty nice stretch here for Labor Day weekend. An area of higher pressure builds in across the region. The ensemble models show this fairly nicely, and this lasts, looks like, through the day on Monday. I'm not really counting on this precipitation to get in here, but it's a possibility, but that would be the only thing that could harm us here across parts of southern Vermont, and that's a long ways around a corner past this period. Looking at the GFS ensemble that's centered also on Montpelier, Vermont. First of all, we're looking at QPF, and this is all going to be falling. You can see it's pretty much all on Wednesday afternoon and evening. The total amount based off the GFS ensemble is averaging with this black line in the latest model run a little bit under a ½ inch, and that looks fairly reasonable at this time. Looking at the dew point temperatures, you can see that a little bit of a climb as we get toward Wednesday, and we're into that near 65-degree mode here. This would be about Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, then a little bit of a downtick, and then a little secondary coming in on Friday with that pulling of that moisture ahead of the next cold front, and then another drop off through Labor Day weekend. Let's look at the temperatures, 2-meter temperatures here. And you can see that these are very comfortable indeed, and a little bit of a drop off with a cold front. Precipitable water. One big uptick here shown for precipitable water. European gives us about 1.5, the GFS ensemble a little bit higher than that, so the possibility for some heavier showers locally with that. And then a little bit of a secondary uptick, not showing nearly as much, close to 1 inch amounts, and that's kind of normal, give or take plus or minus this time of year. Then we dry off, and it looks like we get into much drier conditions, very much like we have now. So this is how Labor Day weekend is shaping up in the longer range. Pretty awesome there. Okay, trying to identify storm tracks and whatnot. You can see a lot of business here with higher precipitation off the southeast east U.S. Coast, the Gulf coastal regions, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, a little bit here, and then more or less off the coast. Another storm pattern here shaping up for the portions of the plains and into the upper plains, into the prairies of Canada. Not a whole lot going on in the state of Vermont. We're looking at about a ½ inch or so. And weighted temperatures near normal for this time of year for the next 5 days. These are based off the maximum temperatures. And then 3 days later, we're looking at about 3 degrees above normal. And ring analyzer showing above normal temperatures to the north of us in parts of northern Quebec. We're near normal to a little bit slightly below normal. And it's interesting to note that, again, we got high latitude, high pressure systems providing a lot of warmth here in parts of Europe, Scandinavia, back over in parts of Siberia, northern Canada, and so forth. Greenland has cooled off, and then the western areas and parts of Mexico seeing above normal temperatures for a change. The other thing I want to show you is sea surface temperature anomalies, and you can see the Pacific is just basically on fire. I'll get to that in a second, but you can see where our tropical cyclone formation is taking place. This is the Cape Cabo Verde Islands, and typically they make a run like this and so forth. So we're not even in this sort of above normal anomaly, but look at off the eastern seaboard. If anything gets going out here, it can continue to move fairly far to the north without losing a lot of the water temperature support, the warmer latent heat and whatnot, and you can see we are well above normal. The other thing that's interesting is in the Arctic, they are well above normal. And then we got the Pacific. The Pacific is just amazingly how warm it is. You can see a little bit of a La Nina forming here, but look at the North Pacific and then look at the South Pacific. These usually switch a little bit in tandem, and indeed that's what's going on right now. But I have not seen such a warm sea surface temperature anomaly in the Pacific like this, and this could even have ramifications on our winter, producing a ridge of higher pressure and then bringing that jet stream back down here. We'll have to wait and see. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.